How old is MUTTAJJI? An interesting story that threaded with the warmth of family relationship beyond generations. This is written by an Indian writer, Rupa Pai. She is a computer engineer from Bangalore. She grew up reading lots and lots of books, and after her marriage, she has traveled around the world with her husband from Delhi and Mumbai to New York, London, and Orlando. Since she is from Bangalore, Karnataka, she has brought a few Kannada terms to this story. Like the characters of the story, Putta and Putti, that means a small boy and a girl. Then Ajja, Ajji, grandfather and grandmother. Then mother or Amma. Then MUTTAJJI and MUTTAJJA, great grandmother and great grandfather. So these are the characters of the story. The theme of the story is MUTTAJJI's birthday. So Putta and Putti, they are visiting their MUTTAJJI on her birthday. And they are so curious to know how old their MUTTAJJI is. But MUTTAJJI is not sure about her age. It becomes a mystery for them, and they are trying to solve this mystery. That is the story, How Old is MUTTAJJI? Before we move on to the story, let us focus on some glimpses from MUTTAJJI's memory that helps Putta and Putti to find out MUTTAJJI's age. All these are some historical landmarks of our own country. And the first one is about the Grand Party of 1911. The Grand Party was hosted to welcome the Emperor of Britain, George V, and his wife, Queen Mary, as they visited India for the first time. And the party was held at Delhi Darbar. More than 400 Indian kings and queens attended this grand party, and most of them were awarded with gold medals by the emperor. The Maharaja of Mysore, Krishnaraja Vadiyar IV, was one among them. Next is about the clean trains, that means electric trains. Electric trains were introduced in India in 1925. Before the electric trains, we had the trains that ran on coal. Dust would fly out from the chimney of these trains that ran on coal, making everyone and everything on their path dirty. Next historical glimpse is about KRS Dam, Krishnaraja Sagar Dam, and about Vrindavan Gardens, which is located just next to KRS Dam in Karnataka. KRS Dam is built across the river Kaveri in Karnataka. The Vrindavan Gardens is one of the famous tourist spot in Bangalore, Karnataka. The musical water fountain is the favorite among the young and the old. Let's move on to the story, How Old is MUTTAJJI? It is January 2016. Putta and Putti, the twins, are visiting their MUTTAJJI great-grandmother in Mysuru for her birthday. But nobody knows how old MUTTAJJI really is. So the twins decide to solve this mystery. Putta and Putti, they are the great-grandchildren of MUTTAJJI, great-grandmother. And no one knows how old MUTTAJJI really is. So Putta and Putti decide to solve this mystery. The moment they reached the old green house in Mysore, the twins burst into MUTTAJJI's room. Happy birthday, MUTTAJJI! How old are you today? MUTTAJJI hugged the twins. How old am I? Who knows? How does it matter? But it does, cried Putta and Putti together. MUTTAJJI smiled. As they reached their MUTTAJJI's house, they just rushed into her room. They wished their MUTTAJJI, and MUTTAJJI gave them a warm hug. And after that, the children are asking their MUTTAJJI about her age. So here MUTTAJJI giving an explanation that she has no idea about her age at all. The children are very much surprised to hear it, and they are curious to find her age. And here MUTTAJJI tries to recollect some important incidents that happened at her young age. MUTTAJJI smiled. Well, she said, I know that around 5 years before I was born, our Maharaja went to a grand party for Indian Maharajas and Maharanis in Delhi. A British king and queen had come to visit, and our Maharaja got a gold medal. Who was the king, MUTTAJJI? Asked Putta. If you know, we can find out which year he visited. If we add 5 years to that, we will know when you were born. MUTTAJJI shrugged. I have forgotten, Putta. Putta's face fell. So this is the first clue given by MUTTAJJI to Putta and Putti. It is about the grand party of 1911. But MUTTAJJI is unable to remember the year. She only knows that it was arranged to welcome the Emperor of Britain, George V, and his wife Queen Mary when they visited India for the first time. She also remembers that so many kings and queens attended the party, and their Maharaja got a gold medal. Since she does not remember the year in which the party took place, they are unable to calculate MUTTAJJI's age. And the children are disappointed. And MUTTAJJI added, Wait, said MUTTAJJI. Let me see if I can remember something else. When I was about your age, 9 or 10, my uncle from Bombay visited us and told us about clean trains. Clean trains? Yes, MUTTAJJI was excited. They had started running in Bombay that year. You never got dirty traveling in them. No black dust on your clothes and face. The twins stared at her. Why would anyone get dirty traveling by train? So, the second clue is about clean trains, that means electric trains, which were introduced in our country in the year 1925. But here also MUTTAJJI is not able to remember the year in which the electric trains were introduced in our country. Also, they are surprised to know that people get dirty traveling by train. But MUTTAJJI continues. Some years later, continued MUTTAJJI, I got married. I must have been 16 then. Very soon after my marriage, your MUTTAJJI got a job in Bombay and we left Mysore. MUTTAJJI says she got married when she was 16, but again not sure. And soon after her marriage, MUTTAJJI got a job in Bombay and they settled in Bombay. They left Mysore. Did anything important happen the year you got married, MUTTAJJI? Asked Putta. Yes, said MUTTAJJI. Our Maharaja inaugurated our big dam and the beautiful gardens next to it during the Dasara festival that year. A big dam? Putta sat up. Is it still there? MUTTAJJI laughed. Of course, it is the dam built across the Kaveri. Ajji put her head around the door. Are you talking about KRS, Amma? Ah, yes, MUTTAJJI said, looking fondly at Ajji. Your Ajji was my 5th child, the youngest, but always the smartest. Here, MUTTAJJI gives the third clue. It is about KRS Dam. And she remembers that it was inaugurated by their Maharaja. Also, there is a beautiful garden next to this dam. And the inauguration was held during the Dasara festival that year. But MUTTAJJI is unable to remember about the name of the garden or the dam. And Putta asks, is the dam still there? By listening to this, MUTTAJJI laughed and said, it is the dam built across the river Kaveri. Listening to this conversation, Ajji comes in. And Ajji asks, are you talking about KRS, Amma? Then it clicked MUTTAJJI and she agrees happily. MUTTAJJI lovingly looked at Ajji and said to Putta and Putti that Ajji, that is their grandmother, was her 5th child, the youngest one, but always the smartest. KRS is the Krishnaraja Sagar Dam, said Ajji, bringing in bowls of vermicelli paisa, MUTTAJJI's favorite sweet dish. The Brindavan gardens are the gardens attached to it. We went there last year to see the musical fountains. Remember? The twins nodded. Said Putti, your paisa is the best, Ajji. When was KRS built? Do you know, Ajji? Ajji shook her head. I'm not sure. But you can go with Ajja to the central library after lunch and find out. Here, Ajji gives them a few details about KRS Dam. She says it is the Krishnaraja Sagar Dam and the gardens, the Brindavan gardens. And the children are asking again, in which year was it built? But Ajji has no idea and asks the children to go to the central library along with their Ajja soon after their lunch. In the library, Putti found a book on the history of Mysore. Here it is, she whispered. Two of Mysore's most visited tourist spots, the KRS Dam and the Brindavan Gardens nearby, were opened to the public in 1932. As they reached to the library, they started searching for the books, and Putti found a book on the history of Mysore. They just took the book and started checking for the details given by their grandmother. And soon they got the details. The dam and the gardens were opened to the public in 1932. The twins grinned. That meant MUTTAJJI had indeed married in 1932, 84 years ago. MUTTAJJI thinks she was 16 when she got married, said Putti. But she could have been 17 or 18. She also said she was about 9 or 10 when her Bombay uncle told her about the clean train, said Putta. Ajja may know what that means. As they got the year in which the dam was built, happiness spread on their face and eyes. They quickly calculated and reached to a conclusion that MUTTAJJI got married in 1932, 84 years ago. But still, the things are not so easy, as MUTTAJJI is not so sure about her age during her marriage. And now the children are moving on to the clue about clean trains. But there too, things are not going to be so easy. As MUTTAJJI said, she was maybe about 9 or 10 when her Bombay uncle visited them. Also, children are not sure about clean trains. And now they are planning to talk to Ajja. Ajja was in the reading room. Ajja, whispered Putti. In the olden days, did people get dirty traveling by train? Ajja nodded. There were steam engines then, which ran on coal, not electricity, he said. Black coal dust used to fly out of the chimney and land on everyone and everything. Terrible. That's it, Putti, hissed Putta. Electric trains were the clean trains. He pulled out a book on the Indian Railways. It says here, he pointed, that India's first electric train came to Bombay in 1925. And MUTTAJJI says she was about 9 then, said Putta. If she is right, then MUTTAJJI was born in 1916. But she could be wrong, frowned Putti. Here, children are moving to Ajja to find out about clean trains. And Ajja, he is in the reading room. And they are asking, in the olden days, did people get dirty traveling by train? Why so? Why the people should get dirty by traveling in trains? Then Ajja said yes by nodding his head. And Ajja added, those were trains which ran on coal using steam engines and not using electricity. The coal has to be burnt to make the steam engine move. So as they move, the black coal dust used to fly out of the chimney and land on everyone and everything, making the place around and the people dirty. And it was terrible. By the time Putta finds a book on the Indian railways, and he points that India's first electric train came to Bombay in 1925, and now the children started to calculate her age again, and they says, if MUTTAJJI was about 9 in 1925, then she was born in 1916. But Putti points that she may not be right, because she said she was 9 or 10. Only one way to make sure, said Putta. We have to find out if that big party for kings and queens in Delhi, which MUTTAJJI said happened 5 years before she was born, happened in 1911. They ran back to Ajja. Ajja, was there a grand party for a foreign king who visited India around 1911? Ajja frowned. 1911? Why is that date so familiar? Ah, yes. It was the year the gateway of India was built in Bombay. And yes, it was built to welcome the British Emperor of India, George V. There must have been several grand parties, not one. Thanks, Ajja, cried the twins. They knew exactly how old MUTTAJJI was. So here, only one clue is left for the children to solve, and it is about the grand party, and they wanted to make sure whether it has happened in 1911. So again, to find out about this grand party, they are asking Ajja about it. As he heard the year 1911, Ajja felt that it is something very familiar, and he tries to remember. It clicked his mind about 1911 and the grand party, and Ajja says, it was the year the gateway of India was built, and it was built to welcome Emperor of India, George V, and his wife. And Ajja added, there were several parties, not one. So with this clue, the children are almost done with the calculation. Now they know exactly how old MUTTAJJI was. Then 5 minutes later, the twins were racing towards home. MUTTAJJI, they panted, rushing straight to her room. Did the Mysore Maharaja get his gold medal from King George V? Ah, MUTTAJJI said happily. That's it, George. What clever children you are. Here, after getting all the clues, they are just rushing to see their MUTTAJJI just for the final confirmation. Is that King George V who awarded the gold medal to their Maharaja. MUTTAJJI was so happy and surprised to hear this, and she said, yes, it was King George. And she also said, what clever children you are. The children continued, that means, MUTTAJJI, that you were born in 1916. You are exactly 100 years old today. That's great work, twins, smiled Amma. I think you and MUTTAJJI deserve a special treat, a big spongy cake with pink icing and a rose on top. Hooray! Cheered the twins. And thus the children finally solved the mystery, and they find out about her age also. After a lot of investigation and researches, they came to know that MUTTAJJI was born in the year 1916. That is exactly 100 years ago. Because the year the story takes place, it is 2016. By listening to this, their mother congratulates them, and she brings a sweet pink birthday cake for the grand celebration. It's a big spongy cake with pink icing and a rose on top. Now they just enjoy their grandmother's, great grandmother's birthday celebration. Thank you.